Sunday, the 11th of April, 2021. The 13th is the first day of Songkran, is that right? So this beautiful setup will just stay empty for a day. It'll be filled with emptiness for a day. It's the new moon, lunar observance day. And the precepts get recited, so we do our Bhikkhu Patimokkha on the new moon and full moon, lunar observance days. And novices will chant their 10 precepts, Anagarkas will chant their 8 precepts. So we did that up at the Bhikkhu Commons earlier this afternoon. And this is the framework of how we live. So we have these ceremonies that we do, and we reaffirm what we're doing here, the practice. And the precepts really provide the framework for the lifestyle in the monastery. And everything else is kind of secondary. So we really focus on those precepts. Another thing that defines us as samanas is the alms round. So we went alms round today for the first time in over a year. And Lungpor led the monks going to Ukiah, and I, myself, and Tansu Hajo went to Redwood Valley, and then a couple of monks went to Fry Vineyards, so we got that started up again. And I just found it quite enjoyable. Of course, going to Redwood Valley, we didn't really see so many people, but just that act of walking on alms round it's very important. And somehow it's a very important part of the training. And of course in Thailand, do it every day. Some monasteries like Pacific Hermitage, they walk alms round every day. So in Thailand, that's a really big part of the monk's life, is the alms round. A defining feature, and definitely the thing I miss most about Thailand is the daily alms round. And that's our livelihood. So that's the bhikkhu's livelihood. That's how we make our living, and that's how we find our food. And you could think of the buffet table here as an alms round as well, a very short alms round. We go alms round to the kitchen. But that walking into the village and having that interaction with people out, going about their business, going about their day, that's very, very important. And in a way, it's a teaching without teaching, teaching without saying anything. And it's a gift also. So even though people might not have the opportunity to support us directly or give anything to us, we have the opportunity to give a gift to people who might just see us and contemplate what we're doing for a few minutes, ponder, consider. They might stop and consider, what am I doing with my life? And what am I doing to help society? What am I doing to help the world? They might stop and consider that. Just that sign of the samana. So just being out and about, that's a gift that we can give. So it's not about going and getting something for ourselves. If we don't get anything, that's fine. So cultivating that attitude. It's in the Sutta Nipata. If I get something, fine. If I don't get anything, that's good too. And being thus with regard to both, one goes back and does the practice, does the sitting and walking meditation. So there can be a great joy in that, the joy of blamelessness, the joy of not wanting anything. And normally, life is all about just wanting, me. So wanting to, but that can be experienced as slightly unpleasant, actually wanting to get something for ourselves. And it's kind of strange how it works like that. Like we want to get something for ourselves, and then when we do get something for ourselves, we just want to get something else for ourselves, and it just goes on like that. And it's perhaps there's a slight hit of pleasure, but it's the wanting of the defilements. And when I was more junior, when I was an Anagarika novice or junior monk, I would read the teachings of Ajahn Mahabua, and he would say some really extreme things, and I would think, wow, he's really extreme. You know, it's not actually like that, is it? He would say things like, the defilements just stomp all over the heart, and they don't even care. And I think, oh, that's really harsh. Stomp all over the heart. They just... But actually it's true. It's actually true. That's all they do. They don't help. They don't help in any way. All they do is create trouble for us. The defilements will come speaking nice words and seem like they're trying to help us, and then they just stab us in the back. That's all they do. And that's how they operate, and it's never any other way. Never has been, never will be. So that's sad, but we can do something about it, and so there is this path of practice. So one way we can think about the practice is when with the way we're using our time or the things we do throughout the day, are we doing it for ourselves or are we doing it for Nibbana, for Buddha Dhamma Sangha? And when Longpo Ban talks about going about our duties, such as sweeping or cleaning around the monastery, we can think of it as just a task that we have to get done, or we can use it as Dhamma Puja, as something that we're really putting our heart into as a puja. And if we're really skillful and we really try at it, then we can relate to all of our duties throughout the day in that way. So we're doing it for the Dhamma, we're doing it for the Sangha, we're doing it for the practice. Doing something for others, there's a lot more joy in that if we're doing it with the right attitude. If we have the attitude of, oh, nobody notices how much work I'm doing for the community and not getting any recognition, then already it's no different than the work in the world, wanting to get some sort of payment, some sort of recognition. But if we do it with that sense of, this just seems like the right thing to do, and whether somebody sees me doing it or not, there can be that joy there of knowing that one has done something helpful. Then it's Dhamma puja, then it's Nibbana puja, Patipati puja. So it's within the realm of the practice. There's this word that Wat Pah Ajahns like to use a lot, Patipati puja, where your puja, your practice is the puja, where there's that heart of devotion that really goes into it, and then that energy that comes from that. So that's the 5 faculties. The saddha is the faith or the confidence that there's going to be a good result, and then from the saddha comes the virya, the energy. But if that faith and devotion isn't there, it's going to be hard to put that, well, the energy just won't happen. It's a natural result of the faith and devotion. And then when there's the energy there, then the mindfulness comes about. Then we're really intent, we're interested, we're focused on what we're doing, and see that, wow, this sense of surrender and doing something as Dhamma puja, doing something for the sake of others, this is really interesting. Let's throw ourselves into this. Let's put our heart into this. Put our heart into the practice. Really, just go in deep into the practice. From that comes the samadhi, and the samadhi isn't necessarily. We're not necessarily talking about really deep absorption, but that sense of a solidity or the firm establishing of the heart in the practice, that firmness of purpose. The firmness of purpose, that's like Lumpur Cha when he talks about his own path of practice, saying that it was so difficult, but there was this really intense devotion and love in the practice and for the practice. And then the panya, the discernment, starting to see how the whole process works, how defilement is always going to lead to suffering. It can't possibly lead to something else. It'll lead to that sense of dissatisfaction. It can lead to happiness too. It leads to that, but that happiness has the viparinama dukkha, the dukkha of change. It's not stable happiness, it's not solid happiness. It's like the happiness of even the deva realms isn't stable and solid, but it changes. So it's got the suffering of change inherent in it. So the kilesa, the defilements, the greed, hatred, delusion, they might lead to a pleasantness. They can lead to pleasantness or unpleasantness, or neither pleasant nor unpleasant. They can lead to those 3 things, but they all change. So there's that viparinama dukkha, the dukkha of change, which is inherent in that. So when we develop a strong sense of faith and confidence in the practice, that energy will naturally come about. The mind will get brighter. And when we go about our day doing our duties, so after winter retreat, there's different tasks and duties happening. And for myself, I'm so busy that I forgot that I told some people I want to have an Upasaka day on April 10th, and then I looked at my watch. Oh, it's April 11th. Oh, totally forgot about it. But so then I sent an email out saying, let's have it a little bit later. But it wasn't like. But it was all things that I'm not doing for myself, so I didn't feel bad about it. So just coming back to what's important. So as we get on with the year, and the rapidity with which time passes is unbelievable, and passes really quickly. We're over a quarter of the way through 2021 already. It's already passing. Like, oh, 2020 was so long, and now it's 2021. But then it'll be 2022, 2023, 2030, 2040, 2050. In 2050, I'll be 70. I'll turn 70 in 2050 if I live to see it. So it's just passing. It's just fleeting. And then also there's these, I remember being at Pujamgam, and I had the prospect of coming back to Abhayagiri. I'd been in Thailand for 4 years, and I kept thinking about it, thinking, oh, it's been 4 years, I've been gone for so long. And now it's been 9 years since I had those thoughts. There's this, I remember doing walking meditation for a long time, and there's nothing to do at Pujamgam. If you're the abbot of Pujamgam, you have less duties than the guest monk at Abhayagiri. I remember just doing a lot of walking meditation and thinking, oh, I'm going to go back to Abhayagiri, but it just seems like it's forever. I would think about it. I wonder what it's going to be like when I get back to Abhayagiri. And then there was this sense of like, it's a really long time. Doing walking meditation for hours every day. And it's kind of getting excited about going back to Abhayagiri. Just doing walking meditation for hours and hours, and it's just nothing happening. So quiet. And then that was 9 years ago now. So that was like a very long time ago. Almost a decade ago now. 2012. And then I remember coming back here, and it was 2012, and there was all these prophecies that the world was supposed to end. And then remember doing our New Year's Eve sit, 2012, and thinking, oh, well, looks like we're going to survive. And it was like 11:55 p.m., 2012, December 31st, 2012. And then then everything started shaking, and the cella started shaking. I thought, oh, well, maybe we won't make it past 2012. But it was just a very minor earthquake. So there was a very minor earthquake at 11:55 p.m., December 31st, 2012, and then we were okay. Yeah, it's kind of interesting to see too. Like we did that baby blessing for Tansudiko's nephew, and it's like they keep growing up. So those kids keep growing up, and then I have this nephew, and in June of 2019, I had the opportunity to go to Victoria, British Columbia, Canada, and see my nephew and hold him, and he was 1 month old, exactly 1 month old. Actually, I went in July. He was born June 9th, I think. And I went July 9th, so he was 1 month old. And now he's almost Now he's going to be 2. So already growing up, so these things just happen very quickly. Sometimes it's also interesting to see like when we don't see somebody for a long time. So I can think over the years like monk friends who I hadn't seen for a long time. And then I would run into them again or go to a monastery where they were living and say, oh, they're different. It's like people change. And it's imperceptible when we're in it, but then it's interesting to see after a number of years you run into somebody again. Oh, they're different now. Just these causes and conditions we get ourselves into. And if meeting monks one year and super inspired with the practice, the Krupa Ajahns, and meeting them 8 years later and, well, about had enough, gonna disrobe. So how does that change occur? How do those causes and conditions occur? So it behooves us to really plant the correct causes and conditions in our practice and really guard against and safeguard against the defilements getting in, because they're going to try to get in any angle, any way possible. They're going to do what they can to stomp all over the heart, and that's their duty. That's just what they do. They deceive and they trick us into these things. So I was really taken by the story of Devadatta that was read near the end of the winter retreat, and there's just so many things in there we can take away from that. Just these ways we can really caution ourselves and safeguard ourselves, because Devadatta, he didn't really try to do that split into in the Sangha. According to the commentaries, the Buddha was 72, and so Devadatta would have been a similar age. This is already nearing the end of his dispensation, the end of his life, getting close there, and then just the defilements just getting into Devadatta's mind and in just such a way that caused this absolute disaster. And he was actually a good monk. He was before that for so many years. So he was in that same group with Upali and Ananda, Anuruddha, and he was in that same group of Sakyans who left and ordained with the Buddha, so he was quite senior. And so those things we can caution ourselves. And he had psychic powers. He was had that samadhi. So to caution ourselves against those kind of dangers, it could happen to any of us. It really could. He was a very good monk for a long time, and then just went on a wayward path later on, and it was a disaster. And the kilesa got in there and they stomped all over the heart, and they created a disaster scenario where he actually got to the point where he tried to kill the Buddha. So this is really serious, and it's a very good teaching story. then there's these other stories in that story of Devadatta with like Nalagiri, the elephant, who is unleashed to also try to kill the Buddha, and the Buddha spreading metta to the elephant, and then the elephant being tamed by the Buddha. And that's one of in the Jayamangala Paritta, that's one of the Buddha's 8 wholesome victories. The third one is the taming of Nalagiri, the elephant, with metta. So the danger for Devadatta was fame, honor, and gain. And the way the story starts is he's sitting alone in seclusion and has the thought, how can I increase my fame, honor, and gain? And then the whole cascade of bad events came from that. And then the way he decided he would increase his fame, honor, and gain was to display his psychic powers in front of King Ajatasattu. So he using them for the wrong reason. And then soon after that, based on receiving fame, honor, and gain and getting intoxicated with it, then the psychic powers disappeared. So he only had those based on what he had been cultivating before, but then when the mind started to go dark, then he lost those psychic powers. So when he became more selfish and started doing these things just for himself, wanting to take over the Sangha out of the sense of just himself, then the psychic powers disappeared. And there's a parallel I've read about this with some books on Native American shamanism. The black elk, not the old black elk, and everybody knows about Black Elk Speaks, but the newer black elk who passed away in 2004. And Willie, what was his name? Wally Black Elk or something. He talks about this, that these mental powers, and he's someone who did a lot of vision quests through his whole life, and did a lot of different ceremonies, and knew all about ceremonies and visions, and he said that one of the things he said that struck me was, the more you think it's coming from you, the less power you'll have. So like the more you identify with your own abilities and talents, the less, or the more you think it's coming from you, the more you think you're doing it, the less potent it'll be, the less powerful it'll be. But if you see that it's just the spirit, or you see that it's just causes and conditions, then it can be really potent, really powerful. So we can apply that to ourselves. If we think it's us accomplishing things, it's not going to be so potent. But if we see that it's coming from Buddha, Dhamma, Sangha, everything we have here coming from the blessings of the Buddha, from our parents, from our ajahns, not coming from us. We didn't create it ourselves. It's all these causes and conditions around us. The food we eat, it's created by the hard work and labor of others. We didn't create it. We might think it's coming from our parami, but it's actually the parami of the Buddhas and the parami of the Arhants. That's where it's coming from. So we're riding on that, so to acknowledge that. It's not us who's creating it. So we acknowledge that, then we develop this quality of soracha, or humility, being humble. That's really important. Say Kanti and Soracha, those are the two qualities which beautify a practitioner. So if a practitioner wants to be beautiful in the practice, then patient endurance and humility are two qualities to cultivate. That's when the practice starts to become potent. I remember as an Anagarika, so we have these circle meetings where we talk about how we're doing, and we check in with each other as a community. And I remember as an Anagarika, one of my first circle meetings, and I was pretty down on myself because start just like many beginners, so like starting to meditate, and I was very sincere and meditating a lot and using the whole day for sitting and walking meditation, and really trying to put effort into the practice, and then running up against the defilements, of course, and thinking like, wow, this is terrible. I don't think I can do this. And expressing that and saying, and at that time it was Ajahn Pasano and Ajahn Amaro leading the community, and I said, well, I'm just not doing very well. It's just nonstop greed, hatred, and delusion. And then, so we have first round, there's 2 rounds to these meetings. First round is monologue. Second round is dialogue. So like people just speak as individuals in the first round, and nobody interrupts. And then in the second round, you talk about things that might have come up. So in my monologue, it's just like, yeah, this is just not working. And second round, it was like Longpo, who we didn't call Longpo yet, it was Ajahn Pasano, said, great! The medicine's working. And then Ajahn Amaro was like, yes, very good. So what are they talking about? Yeah, that's what happens when you practice. So it's kind of, oh, really? I thought you were supposed to just like be really, really peaceful, and that meant you were practicing properly. Or this idea, so then get it, okay, well, I'm just going to practice really hard. I'll just practice as hard as I can, and it'll be really intense suffering for a short period of time, and then I'll get enlightened, and then it'll be easy for the rest of my life. And I'll just be in bliss, and it'll be easy for the rest of my life. So then there's that desire that comes up. So, okay, maybe 8 or 9 months should be enough. Just put forth really hard effort, and that'll do it. I'll overcome the defilements and reach arhatship, and that'll be it. So then there's these, maybe I won't even need to be in the monastery anymore. Once I'm an arhat, I can leave and be an enlightened guitar player, or just like save the world. I could save the world if I was an arhat. I could go and save the world somehow, end climate change. With my psychic powers. I could use my psychic powers to end climate change. So you might I had thoughts like that for sure. And then 8 months, 9 months. Oh, okay. Well, maybe it'll take a little bit longer. So then, okay, well, become a novice and become a bhikkhu. So, okay, well, maybe it'll take 5 years. 5 years should be enough. Okay, maybe it'll take 10 years. Maybe it'll take 20 years. Well, okay, maybe I'll attain arhatship at the time of death. maybe we could hope for that. But then it's not really about that. So it's about giving up. Just give up on that idea of I'll attain something at some point. then you'll be okay. Well, I'm suffering now, but it's okay because at least I'll attain something at some point. So we can just give up that idea. Then it'll be okay. But it is kind of insidious how the defilements just get in there. So the day after tomorrow we'll be celebrating Thai New Year, and of course we're having a limited gathering as we've been doing. This has been working out quite well, and we'll have 5 different days of Thai New Year with a limited guest count. And last year this actually worked out quite well for Katina, and it was this phrase in Thai, Ben Gun Ang, which is where it's just you had more time as individuals with people. It wasn't just this huge gathering where you can marvel at how many people there are, but you don't really talk to anybody, or you talk to just a few people. But this was much more like family style, and so there's this benefit to doing it this way. And it's also a way to celebrate the kind of support that we get here. So we get immense support from a very large lay community that want to see us here, want to see us keep practicing. And so they support us in various ways. And so it's really lovely to see. So we're celebrating that. And it's a celebration of generosity, the kind of generosity that helps us to keep practicing, and also it's going to be they're also going to be donating funds for the development of Sandhi Vihara, which will be like a place where elder monks, aging monks, all of us can live and be taken care of as we become more infirm and eventually reach that point where we're in wheelchairs, and if we live long enough it'll just happen to all of us. And just when we need to be looked after, those of us who are younger will look after the older ones, and thus create the causes that when we're old and drilling on ourselves and not able to look after ourselves, then the next generation will be looking after us, and we put those causes and conditions in place. When Luangpo Pasano was on his 1-year sabbatical and left the abbotship to Ajahn Kurdadamo and myself, then we did a couple of live video chats with Ajahn Anan in Thailand, and one of the questions was like, what happens with our aging sangha? So I've known a few monks now who have gotten older and have disrobed out of a fear they might not get looked after, and Ajahn Anan just saying, well, you create the causes and conditions, so when you're able, you look after older monks, you take care of older monks and dying monks, and then right there's the cause and condition that you create the karma for being looked after in your own old age. So we create that cycle, and I very much see Sandhi Vihara as a place where we'll actually be able to have every stage of life in the robes. So there's still that our Western Sangha is still very young in that we don't yet have elder Western monks who are dying. So like at Wat Pah Pong, you always have every stage of life. You always have You have from little novices, 7-year-old novices. You have new monks. You have middling monks. You have senior monks. You have very senior monks. And you have old and dying monks all the time. And there's, from time to time, there will be a cremation of a monk. And that's just normal. That's a normal part of life at Wat Pah Pong. So eventually, if this monastery lasts long enough, then we will have every stage of life in that same way, and that'll be really amazing to witness, to see. We'll have everybody from young people to very elderly and dying people in robes at every step of the way. But it won't be that long. Time passes very quickly. So these are just some contemplations and doing what we can to keep practicing now that we're out of retreat. And I'll just leave it there this evening. So this evening being the observance night, we have our vigil, tea at midnight, morning puja at 3. Truck can go up after the morning chanting, and we'll do a closing chant also. We'll end with the chant on the Verses of Sharing an Aspiration, page 33.